Yeah. Hey, guys.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jesse. I want to welcome you to the first episode of the Average Rose podcast. And so we're three regular guys with regular faith. No.
Oh,
We're three regular guys with real faith, real life, and zero filters.
okay.
And so our goal is talk marriage, family, our doubts, our wins, our losses, and what it looks like to really follow Jesus in the middle of everyday chaos. And so what I want to do is introduce my two co-hosts here.
Oh.
So I'm going to start with one. This is my brother from another mother. The man with the sweet singing voice of a cherubim on cloud nine.
You know who he's not talking about.
The craftsman who can take a broken crate and turn it into a beautiful cradle.
All right.
A poet, a wordsmith, and one half of the now defunct but electrifying group, Frontline Soldiers, Ken Johnson. Now, last but not least, the host you'd recognize walking into any room with that suave red hair that turned white overnight. The man who can make a guitar whisper sweet nothings into your ear. Engineer by day, Stiller fan by night.
Well.
The guy who can quote movies word for word. And the only one who can recite all the Frontline Soldier lyrics, the one and only John Woodard.
Yeah.
That's my intro.
All right.
For you guys. I think it's interesting because all three of us are pretty close. However, amongst the group, you guys are much older than I am.
Wow. The jigs already
No, we've known each other for over 30 years. Longer than that, probably
At least 30.
almost 35.
Not quite 35.
Oh, 19. So
I've been
maybe
married 33.
32, so somewhere around that area.
Yeah. And so, but when I first met you two, I was in my childhood. I was 8 years old. No, I was 6 years old. I was six.
Still tinier than that. Yeah.
I was 6 years old, and then you guys were getting married. And, how did you two meet?
At the church.
Yes.
It was, in fact, it was a Saturday picnic. Was it May 9th?
May 9th. Because
it
it got
was Saturday.
saved.
Was it?
Was it Friday?
No,
It was
I thought
Friday
it was
night for me.
No. Well,
Norman witnessed to me Friday night.
Oh, I don't know when he witnessed to me somewhere in that week. And he said, hey, we're having this picnic.
Okay.
Church picnic.
Yeah.
But I just remember, you know, I didn't know anybody, you know what I mean? I can remember watching this guy in bib overall with no shirt.
What year was this?
92.
Oh,
Yeah, and you know, tearing it up at the football court.
man, he was the hottest thing in the world.
Tearing it up. So at that point, and then I think I first prayed that Sunday, the next day. It's got to be that very next day.
Yeah.
Because that was a Saturday.
You didn't go to the up at the altar Saturday night? I think we.
Well,
And then probably
I was three times. Someone told me, you don't have to keep going up here.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure. I mean, that's how far away from the church that I grew up. Man, I didn't.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I think I knew about God, or I was aware that there was a God, but I didn't go into church. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up in church. So it was really my first church experience.
So you guys you were both down here because of the military.
Yeah, he was here because he was in the military.
Okay.
I was here because my dad was in the military.
Okay.
So I think I got saved when I was 17. It was May that I got saved. Norman, the same guy, really short Filipino guy with a crazy heavy accent. It was a miracle I understood anything he said. But as he was witnessing to me, just felt pulled, you know. And so I guess I had prayed with him that Friday night. And I did the same thing. I gave him my address just out of, kind of, I don't know what I was thinking, but I gave him my address. And the funny thing is, I didn't expect him to come by. I just figured he'd just kind of, whatever. But there he was, knock, 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 knock. And I did the same thing. What is that? Knock, knock. And then I heard the accent. Hey, man. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys an interesting story. When I didn't grow up in church. When I was a senior, I got in a fight with my mom, my brother.
Uh-huh.
So she kicked me out. I lived with my dad.
Okay.
And I didn't have any direction. And this is Desert Storm was kicking off. So I joined in my senior year of high school delayed entry program. Probably the last month or so before joining or before actually leaving.
Yeah.
I really felt that I was off on this journey in direction and didn't know. And so, strangest thing, I started reading my Bible.
Oh,
I kid you not.
all
You know,
right.
I was like, started reading Matthew, and I was like, yeah, just reading. And then I went through basics, and they had, church services, but I didn't go to those.
Yeah.
I went one time to get out of some duty. But and then after that, I went to AIT, no church during that. And then I went to jump school.
Yeah.
And we got there.
Super duper paratroop.
Paratroop.
All
Yeah,
right.
I got there, when I got there, the week before, they call it 0 week, me and another guy got paired up with another permanent party guy. And looking back on it now, I mean, I think he might have been Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh.
Because he was telling us about the law and things like that. And here I am, been in a couple of days with this guy. He was, he knew Christ. I don't know what the aspects of the law had to do with anything.
Yeah.
I just remember being interested. And it was the very next month that I got stationed.
Oh.
At Fort Huachuca.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was at the PX sitting by myself at the table outside eating. And here comes this guy. Hey, may I ever tell you the good news?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Like, and he asked me that, and I was like,
yeah.
What? Yeah. What are you talking about? Well, I don't think I was here more than a week or so.
That quick.
Fast.
Wow.
That fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, looking back and seeing how God reached out, because I didn't want to come here. I wanted to be, somewhere else, the East Coast or something like that. But he moved me to, Fort Huachuca.
Huh.
I was barely aware that Arizona was a state.
West Virginia.
What is this? What? It's like, you'll love it. And they said, oh, you'll love it. You know what I mean? But I said, okay.
That's the Gore education for you.
We had Arizona. We only got east of the Mississippi. Wait, there's Pacific Ocean.
We don't even talk about them guys up north.
How long were you here for before?
Well,
before Norman talked to me.
Before Norman, I got here in 91. And it wasn't that long, actually. I got back from New Jersey in 91. It seemed so protracted, my life from 91 until 92 when I got saved, but it wasn't that long. I think the first person to actually witness to me was a guy named Alan Kirshner. And I felt bad about it afterwards, but when I got saved, and I actually ended up going to the same church he was. But at the time, I didn't feel bad about it. But he was witnessing to us, and I was the antagonist, and he was talking to my boys, and I just kind of throw in little things here and there, trip him up. But somehow I ended up giving him what he thought was my address. And I lived in Golden Acres with this dude, and I guess my dad had worked out a deal with him and had rented out a room or something. because my dad didn't want me to come back home. I was still a minor. I went out on the front porch that morning, smoking a cigarette, and I see this dude drive by. I'm like, oh, cool. And finished that cigarette, lit up another one. The same dude drove by again. And then finally, a third time, he drove by again, and it finally dawned on me, that's the dude. I was just laughing. I was laughing because I gave him the total wrong address, but close enough to be his neighborhood.
You're just watching.
I was just watching it drive
He's never
by.
told that story.
Well, here, check this out, okay? And so I was, I think I got a haircut, and I went to the Circle K that used to be on the West End across from, I think it's Apocalypse Firearms now. And so I went in there to get something. I think I went to get like a drink or a Coke or something. And as soon as I opened the door, Alan was talking to Dave. I didn't know Dave, but I knew Alan. He didn't recognize me. And so I just kind of walked in, and man, just what I felt was I felt conviction. You know what I mean? Like, how dare you do that? He was just trying to do the right thing. And the funny thing is up until that point, I knew what the gospel was.
Yeah.
I knew who Jesus was because I had an experience with him when I was like a little kid. Of course, yeah, I don't want to get all ADHD on you, but I mean, there's a big backstory. Maybe we'll get into it a little later. But I knew Jesus.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid. Of course, in the tumultuous time from when I was a kid to my teenage years, a lot of stuff had happened, and I kind of put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
But I knew who Jesus was. I knew who God was. I knew what the gospel was. I knew it because I experienced it. And that's where the conviction kind of was rooted in. Like, he was just trying to tell you the truth. Why you do that, you know? And so just to head him off at the pass, I didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And so just to head him off at the pass, I'll just like, all right, fine. And I walked up, hey man, I'm the one that gave you the wrong address. You know? He's like, who are you? He's like, you. Like, yeah, man. Sorry, dude. Whatever. Pay for my stuff, and I just walked out. But shortly thereafter, I think about a couple of weeks or a month later, I was at the park, and this was after a pretty intense conversation with God. I felt like my life was going nowhere. I didn't have a future. I knew I didn't have a future. I remember walking that neighborhood just feeling like life was done, and I'm through with life. And out of desperation, I kind of cried out to God, said, God, if you're real, would you please, do something? I need something. It was just kind of like one of those Hail Mary pass, prayers that you just kind of pray. You don't expect anything, but if there's anything up there, anybody can hear this signal. You know what I mean? We hear it. And so, and then I went to the city park that night, May 8th. I went to the city park that night, and I don't know what I was going to do, but I just felt like I was just going to do something stupid and just end it all. So I went there, put on the happy face, hanging out with my friends, and it was just so empty. And then out of nowhere, this short little Filipino dude comes up to me, starts witnessing to me. And like I said, he had such a heavy accent. It was a miracle that I understood anything that he was saying, but I understood every word. And so he was sharing the gospel with me. And man, I tried to do him like I did Alan at first.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't working. It just, whereas I felt like a little freedom to mess with Alan, I didn't feel that with Norman. It was straight business. I guess it was just the time,
Yeah.
It was the time. God had my number. You ever see those like the Top Gun or something? The jet fighter, the enemy's right on his tail, and they're shooting out flares, but it just don't matter. Fire a missile, trying to shoot out all those flares. That's what I was doing. Okay. trying to Oh, your dad did? Okay, you're good. Let me talk to your friend. Heck no, he is right on me.
You Baptist?
Yeah. Oh, really? Well, let's talk about it. And so he just kept honing in on me. And finally, I was just like, man, I don't know. What do I need to do? What he was saying was having an effect on me, not because I was understanding what he was saying, comprehending what he was saying, but the substance of what he was saying was really hitting home. And what that was causing was the inner dialogue just with me and pretty much the Lord. And I'm trying to fight, and I've kind of having this dialogue in my head. This is what you asked for. This is what you asked for. Remember when this is what you asked for.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what caused me to just buckle and say, "Hey, man, how do I get saved?" You know, and he prayed with me, and it wasn't any kind of serious thing,
At the
like
park, he prayed with you
at the park. Yeah, it wasn't anything like serious. The whole world just kind of went silent, and it was just me and him, kind of like that. Kind of like that. Wasn't anything like that. But what was very interesting to me, and what really woke me up, like, this isn't a joke, this is really God, was he had prayed with me. I asked Jesus in my heart, forgive me for my sins. And then he got my address and he left. But what immediately showed me that this was real was, um, my friend Dre oh no, my friend Ruben, him and his girlfriend Doreen, I don't know what got a hold of her, but she came up at me and she just started cussing at me for something. I don't know what it was, but she was just that up one way and down the other. You know? I'm like, and so I fired off a few choice words, and the feeling that I got was, if you've ever been around somebody who is just being fake, and you're looking at them like, what is wrong with you? You being like that? That was what I felt towards myself. What is wrong with you? Why are you saying these words? Why are you fronting?
Yeah.
I was like, man, what the heck is going on here? And so she went her way, and that conversation ceased. I tried to re-engage with the people around me to kind of, shuffle it off. You know what I'm saying? And so um, this other friend of mine came up to me. His name was Gray. And, he's like, "Hey, man, there's this girl, and she wants to, you know you know, do some stuff." And yeah, that's who I was back then, just really promiscuous. And, so I was like, "All right, cool." And then immediately, "What are you doing?" The inner dialogue came back. "What are you doing?" As we're driving all in this car going up to, Fort Huachuca, where the old Splinter Village, they still had a few barracks up there.
Yeah.
"What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What I thought you wanted something else." And it was just freaking me out, because it was like any other time, I've been doing my thing and like, "Thank you.
Yeah.
Deuces." You know what I'm saying? But this time I just could not engage. And so I finally came to the point where I was like, "Bruh, can you just take me home? I need to get home. I'm tired." Some silly excuse, but yeah,
Was
that's
this
where
that same night?
that
That
same night,
same night?
all of this stuff started happening that night. And it just convinced me, man, that this isn't just church. This is real. Jesus is real. And then the next thing I knew was Saturday morning. Hey, man. It was Norman,
No way.
knocking
The
on the
very
door
next day?
that very next day.
Mm.
And then I was like, what? He's here? Maybe I'll just keep asleep. But then my roommate was home, and I didn't want him to get all mad because he's getting woke up. So I went to the door. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm not ready, so if you can come back." And so he left. I think he went to go
And
pick
maybe
you
want
up.
to go with me.
Yeah. And then he came back, got me, and tell you how messed up I was?
Did you leave the house after you?
No, no. Tell you how messed up I was in my mind, and how much I knew about the gospel and about just church stuff in general. I'm thinking, man, I struck out last night. Maybe I'll go to this picnic and find me some backslid girl, try to
You knew this term.
That's
Backslidden.
yes. And that's why I went up there with no shirt on and and I got there and I felt so ridiculous. I was like, man, I felt naked. But I mean I was, but I felt like a moron.
I felt like I was on the outside, just kind of observing.
Yeah.
But you were in the mix.
I was fronting hard.
I was not in the mix. I felt like a spoiled kid over here.
Really?
You know, I mean, that's what I felt because I didn't know anybody.
I was fronting, man.
And then
I felt so stupid.
And then this truck pulls up.
Oh yeah.
Flying.
Yeah.
Open the door. All right, guys, let's pray.
Yeah. 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 I was like, who is this?
I was like, who is this guy?
I bet you this is a loudmouth deacon, get drunk on the weekend. Turn out it was Pastor Sawyer.
So that's when we started going. So we had been going to church in small places, and that's actually how we met.
Yeah,
Angela, your wife, and her whole family, and we were in Bisbee, and they had a church over there for a bit.
Okay,
but then we came to Sierra Vista, and I remember when we started going, it was the Sawyers were there.
Yeah,
and they invested in my mom a lot.
Yeah.
From my perspective, you guys were like the rock stars at church.
Really?
Yeah. I remember watching you two. I mean, you guys were always in the mix doing something, whether it was song service. I mean,
there wasn't a lot of people. I mean, the church was pretty small.
Yeah. Small talent pool.
Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, you know what I mean? So
how many people did we have on Fab Avenue?
Maybe 100, not even that.
But there was times, I mean, it was like 60.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember starting out. It was that, I mean, it kind of swelled up and then, you know what I mean? Ebbs and flows. People just get tired of
old. The church we were in was very evangelical. And so, you know,
yes,
always had outreaches and stuff. So that's where I
evangelical in the literal sense, not the not the theological sense.
Correct. But that's where I played, was at a concert.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had watched my mom for some time because there was a clear difference from when we weren't going to church and then when we started going to church. And I remember like thinking to myself, there's something real. Like I knew there was something real. And at 8 years old, feeling like this conviction that I needed to pray.
Yeah.
I had to pray. I remember asking my mom, would you pray with me? And they had music going during the altar call and everything, you know, so something's playing. And I remember just right there, just praying. And it was real. Like I think that's the thing that excites me for people and especially young people, that God can meet you no matter your age.
Yeah.
You know, because I was 8 and I just knew there was something real about God.
So what grade was that? Was that third grade?
I was third grade.
Third grade.
Oh. I was relatively the same age.
Yeah.
When you had your experience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember. I mean, I've had a very messed up young life, you know?
So you remember stuff early on?
I think because I've had that trauma, it caused me to seek, I suppose.
Okay.
And for some reason, I always had an awareness that there was a God.
Same.
I've always had an awareness that certain religions were like, no. You know what I'm saying? No. Jada, no. Mormons, no. Catholic, no. You know what I mean? Even before I had the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? I think the first time I ever got any kind of theology or anything was from Chick Tracts and Crusader comics when I was like 7 years old.
You know what I mean?
It's strange.
Yeah, it was powerful for me. Like there was something very tangible and I do appreciate certain aspects of that time period, you know, in that church, because it established some real things in my life at a young age, like a really strong foundation.
Right.
And, you know, at 8 years old, I remember just learning, I could pray. Because you know, at that time, my mom was single.
Yeah.
I didn't have my dad in my life.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So having that foundation, it was like, okay, who is God? Who is God to me? It was incredible that it was so real.
Yeah.
And And I lived that way. I grew up as I began to grow, my walk with God, it evolved. Granted, uh, the church we were in.
Well, I made a comment about doing control, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking people are looking at church and control, but it was, I'm just going to say it, it was just legalistic.
Super.
They didn't have aspect of control over you.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was my very first experience with Christ, was in that setting.
Huh.
I mean, so it was, it took me a little longer to realize, or maybe I realized, but I didn't vocalize it with anyone because I didn't, what I mean, causing division. That was very frowned upon. When you get labeled a rebel, then you're on the outs, and then you're fighting to get back into good graces, jazz hands. Hey guys, I'm really good guy.
I think that the early parts, the good parts of it, God used though. But what God established, and I think it was probably for all of us, is what I needed at that time.
It was exactly what I needed.
And I don't know that I would be who I am today without those early years. That was a two-edged sword because, and I know we talked about it a long time ago. How do you build that fellowship within the church without the aspects that make it controlling, right? Because there is something beautiful when the church is actually operating as it should, right? That close-knit community where you do rely on each other, where it almost feels like you've gone to battle together, you know?
And now that I think about it, there is one kind of place or thing that kind of replicates all of that. The intensity of things.
Yeah.
The control factor where you're kind of controlled. You don't have a whole lot of options. And a place where very strong, I would think, bonds are formed. And that's kind of like, I don't know, I would guess it's something like boot camp. You know what I mean?
Or just people suffering together.
Yeah,
You know what I
suffering
mean?
together. You know what I'm
There's
saying?
probably a term for that.
Yeah.
It's not Stockholm syndrome, but it's his cousin, where we build these bonds because we've gone through so many things.
I mean, it was good for me as well because I don't think I would have stayed saved. I don't think I would have rooted my identity in Christ had it not been for that church.
Yeah.
I needed that. I needed that environment. I needed that control. I needed it to shake me and to knock a bunch of stuff off of me and to kind of get me looking at things seriously, life seriously. I needed that to really kind of like a boot camp, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
There's too much time by yourself and you end up, you know what I mean? So we needed, every night we needed to be going together because I was going to be straying, you know what I mean? As he might not talk to him in 2 days, I think that's what I needed as well.
Yeah.
Because too much time, I would have probably found something else.
I will say though, the one thing I will say is during that time, my perception of God did change, and I had to leave to really understand who God was in regards to grace. Like I didn't see God the way I see him now.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that took years to change after coming out of that experience.
Did you have to rethink a lot of things?
Yes.
To go back and like, because there was a lot of things I took at face value, but then,
like what?
Like doctrines and things like it. Like, for example, it wasn't said in so many words, but I believe that the very moment that I did something wrong, you know what I mean? I
cut off.
Yeah.
No, the Lord Almighty had his big eraser.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
He's erasing that. The ultimate cut off, right? And that piece of parchment, my name had been written and erased so many times. It was like, it's like you can't write anything.
Yeah. At what point do you not erase the paper?
Like, all right, dude. Let's
high quality.
like, son, come on now. But having to rethink salvation being so fragile.
Yeah.
I really thought it was, so fragile. Like the very moment that you did something,
Yeah.
you said something, oh, you just cussed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're out, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry, what happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not that fragile. Just the day to day, I think it was the camaraderie. Cause
Yeah.
it seemed like it was a bunch of us about approximately the same age.
Well, not me.
Yeah.
Well, the up and coming.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember doing children's church.
Yeah,
You
a
know what I
couple of
mean? A couple of
times,
times.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably wasn't my gifting, but who can do it?
Here's what I remember. This is what I remember. I remember when you guys would go, we'd be like, because you guys would use it as your time to preach. You guys would be like practicing your sermons and stuff.
We hit it one time.
Yeah.
Remember, we did a skit,
Yeah.
and we wanted to show the kids how they were. So we did a skit like we were at children's church, and we were just messing around, goofing off and not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, man, we just wanted to snack and have fun. You're over there teaching us doctrine and theology. Just give us some goldfish for a minute.
Oh man.
Well, okay, so now fast forward years later, and we're all adults, and now we're in the same church again,
Mhm.
and I think it's been incredible to see the friendship still last throughout all the years, and that is one thing I think is a huge blessing. I will say something that's funny is right before I got a chance to really connect with you, Ken. You were scary in you were scary in from a church perspective because we weren't allowed to talk to you from the previous church.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
Was this
wow.
when you worked at Home Depot?
Yeah, that time frame, it was like,
I remember thinking, this punk don't even want to talk to me, man.
Well,
Screw you.
well,
But now it's like,
I guess that must not have been scary because I thought we talked.
well, you would come back a couple times, and then
So maybe I
you were coming back. He's like,
or
no.
he's redeemable.
No.
This guy.
So this is what happened too. You have to remember this.
Okay.
It was Thanksgiving, and we used to always everyone would go out and play football, right?
I remember that.
So you had left the church at that point. I was still there. I was a teenager. We see you at the football field. You're like, "What's up, fellas? Can I join in?" Yeah. We played football, had a good time. Didn't talk anything about church, nothing. Enjoyed our time, left, and the pastor found out that you were there. And at the next men's breakfast that we had, he laid into everybody.
Wow.
Because we were with a rebel.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of what set that. That's what set that.
Yeah. I think my initial response was, this punk, these things, he's so high and mighty. But then I was like, I didn't know the circumstance.
Yeah.
But for some reason I felt like, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something else.
But when God really pulled my wife and I out of the church, and then we ended up attending where you were, that's when I was able to connect with you.
Yeah.
And, build that friendship. No, because you were there.
Who made the first move?
No, it was Ken. Ken really.
Yes, he was so scared.
I would. No, well, because it was like I just didn't know what to expect, And I remember as I was struggling with things, I think you had already walked through a lot of that.
Yeah.
So that helped me through those moments because I didn't. I didn't know, and it was hard to leave a church that was real legalistic, and then your perception of God is you're outside of His will. It's almost like you were done.
Yeah.
Right. Like you had no more
threw it
purpose.
all away.
Yeah, you threw it all away, and so I think you probably saw a lot of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that was and that was a lifeline for me. You think no other church is saved or no other church has it right.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of growing that I had to do. But
so did you guys talk about things like that early on?
As time developed, I would ask him questions. It was just organic, honestly. It wasn't like it was forced. It was just kind of reaching out, talking, hearing his story periodically. Because someone who comes out of that, number one, you can't pull someone out, and God has to. And so they have to be ready to receive some of that. And so I think it was more on my timing. I think I appreciate that and didn't really push.
Yeah. So wait a minute, you didn't call him a rebel for leaving? What are you doing over here, rebel? What are you doing?
No, but you did. No, I remember. So then
I
I
was
started.
calling you what I
Oh,
was.
yep.
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
working on bass,
Mhm.
and then you were there, and
Were you still over there?
At CFM?
no,
Uh-huh.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
you were weren't you at,
Let's see here. I was at Oasis at that time.
Oasis?
I was blessed to kind of walk through those moments. You guys went ahead of it, before I did. You guys had left church, been put in healthier situations, I think,
Mhm.
or at least gone through that,
Yeah.
and been able to deal with some of the stuff that I was barely starting to encounter.
Yeah. We got well, it's not that we left, we got kicked out. I got kicked out. I was told to leave. Then we went up to Tucson to the door. Did that for about maybe 6 months, probably at most. It just got expensive driving back and forth, Tucson every week, twice a week maybe. But after that, I don't think we went anywhere for a little while.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, and then I ended up going to this other church that was highly manipulative, but, there's some things that you could take out of there that, "Man, I appreciate this," but, you know, um, but, yeah, I don't think I ever the only time I ever got to a healthy place was '07, I think, when we started going to Mountain View, and, Pastor Ken was a pastor, and that was the first time I was like, "What? You're not trying to manipulate me to do anything?"
Yeah,
You know, "You're actually gonna be, trusting God to deal with me? Really?
yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna force me or guilt trip me to do anything? Really?"
You could go on a vacation.
Yeah. I don't have to check in, you know?
I think that I appreciated that about Ken Frank,
Yeah,
is that he just laid out what scripture said,
yeah,
and then he let God do the rest. And I remember the first time I heard him preach, I couldn't stand it
yeah.
because it was so different. I was so used to the yelling, the
Anim
sort of, yeah, and the sort of like it was almost these like cheerleading sermons where
Yeah.
it was always just like, "You can make it, God's coming back one day." It was the same message
Yeah,
over and over again, and not saying that message is bad, but that does not help you grow.
yeah.
And so to experience, it was almost like my whole life I was drinking milk,
Mm,
and finally it was like I was getting the meat of the word. When I first went, I hated it.
Yeah,
We actually went and then didn't go back.
really.
Yeah, and then
'cause it was too foreign.
I was like, "Oh, the spirit of God is not here."
Mhm.
Like,
Mm,
that was my thought.
mm.
And now I laugh every time I think about it because it was exactly what I needed. Like, by the time he ended up retiring, I loved his preaching.
Yeah,
I loved everything
yeah.
about it. I mean, just listening to all these stories, one thing I appreciate is the deep level of friendship
Mhm.
that was born in that I think today still is a sounding board and still very integral
Mhm.
in my walk, at least with Christ. I look back and I see specific moments where both of you in my life have played like a significant role during the season, and time or for a situation, and I think that lacks heavily in the
Mhm.
church
Sure.
because so there was a study that said about 30 years ago, one out of every two men would say, "Hey, I have six friends. I have six really good friends."
Mhm.
And now that number is to 1 in every 4 men will say that I have 6 good friends. And I don't know what it is because you also see men have a hard time in church.
Yeah.
They have a hard time connecting or joining groups at times, and I don't know what the root cause is.
I think that in some aspects, the realness,
Mhm.
right? Because I think that I have found that if you are vulnerable and just, hey, man, I mean, because in my early days, there's no way that I would say, this is what I'm really wrestling with. This
Right.
is what's really going on, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone is trustworthy to the depths of
Mhm.
everything,
Mhm.
to be completely, if I were to be completely transparent and tell you everything, it wouldn't be in a church testimony.
Yeah.
Like, get him out of here.
Yeah.
But there are precious few that
Yeah.
you can be transparent with.
Actually, that
To that depth.
that both of you do that well.
I'd like to say I learned that Actually from John. Like, he would tell me stuff and, I mean, like, deep stuff, like and it was almost like he would tell me and he's, like, waiting for a response, like, "What are you gonna do?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, "Dude, I don't care, right? You're my friend. You're always gonna be my friend. Maybe you're more than that, you know, and I really don't care. It's not like I'm looking at you like, are you a ghoul now? You know, I just don't care. You're my brother." You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's like that. And I've never really felt I mean, I've never really felt that way towards somebody because I've never gotten close to somebody, I had anybody that close. And I think as we were talking about the brotherhood thing, I think for me anyway, the closest that I have with John, because we're so close in age, we got saved by together in the same, week pretty much.
Yeah.
We were witnessed to by the same guy. We grew up, you know, fighting like brothers. um, I just was like, this is my bro. You know what I mean? Um, for me, that's how I've always seen it. Um, I don't know how it was for you.
Well, I think that if you find guys maybe you don't, aren't that close with, but
Mhm.
if you were to be brave enough to say, "Hey, this is what's really going on. This is what I'm really wrestling with," chances are there's going to be several guys and like, "Yeah, me too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the enemy uses this
Yeah.
against us because
Mhm.
I think that our culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up. Hey, go tell them your feelings.
For sure.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
For sure.
When I went through counseling and from a professional, he gave an emotion wheel because most guys cannot identify their emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was there to help us to identify. Yeah, I mean, I know angry.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? What do you feel? Mad.
Yeah.
What else? I'm mad. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if you're, you know, are brave enough to,
Yeah.
to have that conversation, there are many guys that be not all of them, but there'll be some like me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's probably not the, it's probably several keys to that
Mhm.
unlocking that door, but that be one of them. The
Yeah.
realness, or I
Yeah.
can be completely real,
Yeah.
where I'm not. It's not fake. I'm not.
Yeah.
Jazz hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where there's an element of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, down to earth. This is where the rubber meets the
Yeah.
road. When I wake up in the morning, I'm wrestling with, you
Right.
know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
I had a bad fight with whatever, and this is, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That element of realness. It's probably not for everyone.
Yeah.
The 6 friends.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I mean, acquaintances be in one ring, but I mean, there's probably precious few people that you can really be
Yeah. I agree.
transparent with.
And I think that a lot of men, it's not that they lack faith, but they just don't have that connection.
Know what? And I think, like, for me, I try to be as self-aware as possible, and in that, I see all like, "Oh my gosh, I am so messed up." And then there's that drive, it's like, "Well, I can only say I can only say so much to my wife, and she can only help me so much." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and that's where I think my relationship formed first with John because we're contemporaries, right? And then later on with Jesse, is I need a sounding board because I know I'm messed up. I can't work through this objectively
Mhm.
just on my own because I'm gonna cut myself some slack or just be way too hard on myself.
Mhm.
There's no growth.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, I need somebody on the outside looking in. Who can I trust? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I think that's where I have you guys. To be honest, you two are the only two that I can think of. Go through my Facebook friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it really boils down to two. I mean, I've got family, but there's at some point you can't talk to your sister, you
At a
can't talk to
certain
your
depth,
wife. Yeah, you got to talk to your bros. You know what I'm
Yeah.
Well, the
saying?
thing about the wife is, and I tell her because I'm the same way. I will internalize
Mm,
and scrutinize myself to a level it's like it's unhealthy.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But some of it, there's some elements of truth.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a little awkward here. I'm backwards here. Now, express that to her, you know what I mean? Because she loves me. It's like, oh,
Right.
you know, like it's everyone else.
Yeah.
So everyone else is not the boy,
Right.
you know.
I think that's what I find too.
You know,
She wants to be on your team.
Yes,
You
and
know,
she is. But there, you know, when it comes
but
to,
you
I need
need
real
the
truth.
real truth.
I need someone else because you're gonna, because you love me.
Yeah, you need the bruh.
Yeah.
Bruh.
What are you thinking?
Good night, dude.
I think of David and Jonathan, right?
Mm.
And their relationship that they had. And Jonathan never competed with David.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
In this brotherhood, I feel the same way. Like, okay, I can actually go and share these real things. What's going on in my life? And you both have seen me at my worst,
Yeah.
and I've, been able to say, hey, I'm frustrated or I'm struggling with, been able to share those moments, but it's never like there's no condescending attitude
Right.
when I share it. It's not like you're still dealing with that or what's going on. Like, I think of both of you when I share something with Ken. It's funny because Ken, you'll do this. He'll say, I hear you, but and then you go and, you bring the other perspective, but it's not out of frustration. It's just like, hey, let's just talk about life,
Right.
and John, John will be like, oh, well, you should know what I did. That's
Is that all you got? That was, what the heck's his name? He told this story, a great story. That was I think it was John Lynch, the tale of two roads.
Mm-hmm.
One road was the road of good intentions. He's traveling down this road, he goes in this house on the room of good intentions, and they were like, how you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like trying to tell him, hey, I'm going, and they're signaling a mask. Put your mask on. You know what I mean? So he finally puts his mask on. All right, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No
Oh,
real.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's like, he had enough of that. So he goes back to the main road. He goes down the road of grace.
Yeah.
He goes into the room and, they asked him, how are you doing? You know what I mean? And immediately he's like, started looking for his mask. You know what I mean? He was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrestling with this. I'm having this problem, this and that. And he just goes down the list of all the things he's wrestling with, struggling with. I got back pain. I got this. You know what I mean? And he thinks he's done. And he's about to turn around because they're not going to accept him.
Yeah.
And he hears his voice in the background. Is that all you got?
Yeah. That's how I feel, buddy. Every time I talk to you, I feel like that's your response, and I appreciate that because I think that it's not a competition.
No.
It's almost like, okay, where are you at in life?
Right.
This is where you're at, and I think with the age too, it's nice because you guys have grown kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like in the thick of it. So there's some things that you guys have encountered too that make it easier for me. Like, hey, what'd you do? And sometimes you're like, well, I don't know. I did the wrong thing, so don't ask me.
I can tell you what,
exactly.
Don't do this.
Yeah. Mm.
But it's been good, and so think about David and Jonathan. They had a strong friendship, and David didn't survive Saul on his own.
No.
He survived because he wasn't alone.
Yeah.
He had God, obviously, but he had Jonathan that was there to protect him. And I look at my own life, like there are things that I've gone through that I don't know that I would have made it out the other side without the friendship here specifically, and I think it's integral. And what saddens me, I was talking to someone that I know, and they're not necessarily in my sphere of friends, but they are someone that I spend enough time with.
Yeah.
And he's, I made a comment to him, and he says, "Oh well, actually, I've been going through a hard time. Like, what you're mentioning is not really what's going on." And he began to share like everything that he had been struggling with, dealing with, and I actually kind of felt bad. And I'm like, man, I did not have any idea you were struggling with this, But I think for men, it's hard for them to open up into church and share that because they've been burned in the past, or they're talking. And I also think that when you talk about brotherhood, it feels like it's a lot of emotion, right? It's like, well, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I don't want to, feel that way.
Sure. Yeah, I think if you venture out and go to the depth to someone who's not at that depth, quickly. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Like early church experience, there's no way that I would have confessed to these guys what, you know, I mean,
well, it would have been used against you at that point.
Flash the ramifications of that. Like, nope, you got to wrestle with that by yourself.
Yeah.
Stuff it down. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I think that's a sad part, though, is that wrestling with it, sometimes it's years.
Yeah.
And it can ruin a lot. If you have that ability to walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on," you know, and be honest and real, like it.
Yeah.
I
mean,
what
would it look like? Just, you know, thought question. What would it look like, you know, if I were just to confess to you the things that I wrestled with and blown just this week? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think there's any condemnation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not something when James says confess one another, you know, how many of us would be strong enough, spiritual enough, you know, to accept them? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Still love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm with you,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm praying for you. You know what I mean? And at that point, what can I do to close the gap? How can I help? How can, you know what I mean? If you just need somebody to talk to, you know, call. If it's 2 a.m., if I'm up, I'll answer. If I can, I won't. I'll call you back. You know what I mean? At that point, you know what I mean? But you're making that step of faith, you know what I mean? But there are some that respond, I think, to that depth, and you'll find quickly, oh, no, I can only go to this depth with this person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And the ones that you can go deep with, I think those are the ones that form the inner circle.
So how do you recommend someone do that? Because it has to be organic to some level, right? Like to force somebody
to walk up to a random person in church. Hey, man.
Yeah.
or during testimony time, you know, grab them. See, look around. Anyone? Okay, he learned like he's got worse things than me. No, but like it has to be organic, right? Because you really can't force.
No.
I do believe it's necessary. It's necessary. So how would somebody approach that? If they're listening right now, right? Like someone's listening right now, how do you encourage them to get to a spot where they can do that?
I can't remember the question I was going to ask, but I guess I was going to ask, instead of how do you encourage somebody to do that, I think the first step would be, how do we foster an environment where that is something safe to do? Because I think there is something in all men that want to have that space, you know what I'm saying, to express themselves in that way. The problem is, how do we foster that environment? Because there is no environment for that. For us in CFM, the environment wasn't there because of the competition of, I want to be seen as the most spiritual because I want to get sent out. I want everybody to think, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other areas, it's because, you know, or other church settings, it might be because I don't want anybody to think I'm in the less of a Christian, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, so the question is then, how do we foster that environment where somebody would think it was, feel that it's safe? And I would think that it starts with, um, in the day to day, people can pick up on when you've got the mask. You know what I'm saying? People can pick up on that. And so I would encourage, I mean, you don't have to put your business out there, but just being a little bit more transparent in the day to day, and people will pick up on that. You know what I mean? Not everybody will, but at least in dealing with you, they'll know that you're a type of person that um, is transparent or willing to be transparent, and then that kind of fosters a sense of trust, because I think there's this deep, innate desire to connect with somebody on that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In all of us. The problem is how, where, you know. I think the desire is there. I think the need is there. If you want to put it in business terms, there's a market for it. You know what I'm saying? But there's no outlet. You know what I'm saying?
Once you are at that place where it doesn't really matter what they think,
Yeah.
even if you were to do that say you were to come up with some random and put yourself out there. You're actually stronger for doing it. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And eventually, if you were to do that, you would eventually find some people that would be safe.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But not everybody's going to take that
Yeah.
advice. And I'm going to put myself out there. But you really, there's no. I mean, if they think the worst things of you, who's really the problem at that point?
Yeah.
It's not me that's being transparent.
Yeah.
It's you. You know what I mean?
That's a hard spot to get to.
Oh, it is.
That's a really hard spot because
When Galatians says, restore one,
Spirit of meekness.
you who are spiritual,
Yeah.
right? At that point, it's like, well, really, it's an indication of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that is, you said, that's a tough
yeah,
place to
because yeah, I mean, I think especially if you've been burned,
Mhm.
that's a hard. Like you're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
Right.
But there's a way to live. I think the problem is the masks. Everybody can tell. It's like, do you like being around people you know that are just fake?
I don't go to a certain level. I mean, there's only so much you can.
Like a group setting. If I know that in that group setting, it's just going to be a bunch of masks and phoniness, and I really don't have energy for that.
Mhm.
But if I know that if there's going to be some genuine people, you don't have to tell me anything. But I can unwind in that spot, and I can roll up and get
Yeah.
get to business.
Mm.
But I just don't have the energy for putting up a front. I just
Yeah.
ain't got the time or the energy for
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
That's true. Small groups would be a good spot if there are small groups for people, men, fellowship with men, things of that sort, where you would have to put yourself in the sphere of other men, other
Yeah.
people. You know what I mean? Where you can, at least test the waters and organic.
So-
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. So in that thought
Yeah,
process,
go ahead, Jesse. Man, I was on a roll.
in that thought process, I think asking someone to pray for small things initially, and if they come back, hey, I've been praying for you about this. How's it going? I think that also helps open that
Yeah.
up, And so if you're really scared to kind of open up,
the follow up.
yeah, because if you're really scared to kind of open up, having those small moments of, hey, can you pray for
When
this?
somebody expresses genuine concern.
Yeah, and that allows you to at least begin to open that conversation. That can help, but
Sure.
I do think there's a responsibility on the person to, on some level, take that step.
Yeah.
Take that step of faith, and then for those that are in the church to look for people who need that.
I would just encourage. I mean, any man that takes that leap of faith. Remember that old illustration where out there on the edge
Yeah.
of the limb, and
It's on
everybody
the
else is safe in the trunk. It's on you. I mean, if I could encourage those guys, if you make yourself vulnerable and it's not received well,
Mm.
it's really a more of an indication to the person that didn't receive it well. Really, because if you're super spiritual, you'll restore. They should be able to bring some encouragement, strengthen you, and if there's, the whole idea of admonishing one another.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's, I don't think it has to be in a, condescending, "Hey, you need to,"
Yeah.
what I mean? But if there's a danger. If there is a danger at that point, I think we have an obligation, you who are spiritual, to close that gap to them. If you were to take that step of faith, and it wasn't received well, be encouraged. I mean, they're eventually going to find some people that will respond, and you will be able to go to the depth. And don't take it to heart. They can look at you strange and and all that. But that really, I think, reveals more about them. And I think that if you do that,
Yeah.
others will.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm maybe not everyone, but it only takes one. And I think the enemy uses that against us because our culture does not teach us to. Talking about emotions and the wheel and stuff like that. We're men. We're supposed to be stoic. We take things, without any emotion. Yeah, I can take it all, you know what I mean? But, in reality, the things that I'm wrestling with are the things that most guys wrestle with. And the things that I'm thinking I'm sideways on, most guys are sideways on. And once you venture out there, I think it'll be enough guys will say, Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I'm glad you said it because I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say anything. But since you did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there a way to foster a sense of brotherhood without it being forced?
You know, I'm going to get
Coerced?
I'm going to get slightly political.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a socialist.
Mhm.
But the early church had that socialist, right, where they
Well,
everything in
yeah.
common. But the thing, in my opinion, where I'm at today, current feelings on it, is it will work if it's voluntary.
Yeah.
If we want to live close, do things together, right? It's a voluntary, that thing. If we want to, sell all of our stuff and we all live in one house or, what I mean, that will work if it's voluntary, right? Um, in the area of, friendships, being transparent and, having that, that camaraderie, it works in that when it's voluntary. I think when we got a taste of it, it wasn't so much voluntary. It was expected of you to show up. It was
Yeah.
expected of you to do all of these things. You know, you want to go on vacation, you put that aside. You want to have some time to yourself, don't be selfish, right? We want, right? So we were forced into it. I think we received some of the benefits of it because we were together so much.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's the benefit of it. But I think it would have to be a voluntary. Hey, we're going to meet, you know what I mean? Do this at whatever frequency.
Yeah.
I think that's how you would do it organically. It would be on purpose. We're definitely going to meet.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
So
about
intentional,
intention. Good
very
word.
intentional.
Good word.
After spending a lot of time in church and ministry, um, sometimes you think about that investment it takes. It takes time,
Mm.
and sometimes me being the older believer in the faith, I know I should definitely reach out. That's hard though, because it takes time, and if you're going to do it right, you got to do it right. But
That's
I
true.
I do think it's probably integral, but it's hard to do.
There is an investment in time. I mean, especially if someone's going through something, right? Then we got to, I've met with guys, for years. And, it was a 10-month program we'd go through, but it was part of the program is you made at least 2 calls to other people in the group, and not everyone clicked all the time. I still have friends from groups that I went through in 2014.
Yeah.
Still talk to them, still meet with them, to some degree. So some of that, what I mean, is an intentional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember Chris Sawyer saying something to me because he had mentioned fellowship being a key, and he had said something about when he was a new convert. And I think he was on general was how to lock in kind of new converts, and he was sharing an experience with me that one of the things that kind of helped lock him in was somebody took him in from the church, and I don't mean like open their home up, like come live with us, but they would just bring him over as often just to share a meal and have a good time.
Mhm.
And he was like, it didn't really matter to me what they were eating. I mean, there's plenty of times we just ate ramen, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he said that was pretty integral. And I remember one time I had a bunch of folks over to the house when I used to live on Reisner, and we didn't have any food. We were poor, you know what I mean? So, but I had a big old bag of potatoes, and I had one of those electric skillet things. I just sliced them up, fried them up,
Potato.
man, and everybody was there at my house eating sliced fried potatoes with ketchup. And we were having a good old time. Maybe it's just because I was too ignorant to be,
Mhm.
see the what is this? Or maybe nobody even cared. We just
I don't
tore
think
up
they
and
care.
up the
I don't
potatoes.
think they
You know
care.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can remember I
Mhm.
sliced those onions up. Man, I put them potatoes, sliced them good, seasoned them up real good, and we had a good old time. It was some gourmet potatoes.
I think so I think that's the key right there too, right? Is just doing life.
Yeah.
Uh, being able to just be a part of each other's life and show up, right? And so sometimes that doesn't always mean it's got to be these deep conversations that happen all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's literally just showing up.
Yeah. Intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
about meeting,
yeah.
getting together, even if it's just for coffee or
Fried
potatoes.
Fried potato. Roast session.
Yeah.
Calling each other names. mocking its tradition.
Yeah. We had that that van. We went to these long men's fellowships. Was that the trip that Joel ordered a bean burrito?
And I thought he was getting something super special. I was like, I gotta have that too. And then I got the bean burrito. I was like, what the heck, man? I could have got this at home. Plain bean burrito.
You know, you said that in Mexico one time. We went down there to go play. You guys were going, yeah. So we were there, and we were staying at some of the people's houses there, and so okay, so John's like excited. He's like, "Oh, yeah, good old Mexican food, right? Like, I can't wait to try it."
Hey, they were good people. They were really gracious hosts.
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting refried beans for breakfast. I was like, I didn't know what I was expecting.
So they cooked up a dinner, and John's like, I can't wait for this homemade, Mexican food. And they made quesadillas. And John's like, I could make this at home.
I was
deep in Mexico.
I was not correct, but the worst was that breakfast. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, same beans.
Hey, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mexico, man.
Yeah. And it was Ricky. It was a new convert. And the effects of eventually, I don't think they were expecting our style of music.
You trying to redeem yourself?
They were good people.
I think we've covered all our topics.
Yeah. All our scattered shotgun.
I forgot to say, man, what does a grape say when you step on it?
God.
Nothing. Just lets out a little wine. That's pretty good. That was all right.
Yeah.
I meant to do that at first to set the tone.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta remember. I gotta bring a block of butter. Bruh, you need some butter for that joke. Corny.
Well, if you made it this far with us, heaven has a special place for you.
Indeed. God bless you.
We want to thank you guys for just hanging out with us today. And so this is the start of our podcast. If this resonates with you, leave a comment, share with a friend or someone who needs to hear this. And just remember, your faith isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. And our encouragement to you is to keep chasing after Jesus. And so I'm 1/3 of the average roast. And we'll see you next time.